Welcome to the Free Spirit Woman podcast. I'm Rechelle, your host and intuitive truth teller and doTERRA leader in the Free Spirit Oil tribe. Join me and my inspiring guests as we share stories, weave magic, and give intuitive insight into what it takes to be a free spirit woman. Courageously growing your oil business, turning your fear of network marketing into your fuel, and unleash your magic to the world unapologetically. Let's do it! Sarah Williams is a feminine embodiment coach in training, women's circle facilitator, yoga teacher on a mission to empower women to live the life they truly desire. Known for a down-to-earth approach and authentic musings, Sarah inspires women to get out of their head and back into the wisdom of their body. I want to welcome you today, Sarah, to the Free Spirit Radio podcast. Thank you.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much for saying yes. Shall we just get started, Sarah?
Yes, let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Okay. So the first question is, what is a free spirit woman to you, Sarah?
A free spirit woman to me is someone who, I guess, sort of beats to their own drum. They're someone who is quite sovereign, and they're free within themselves, so they don't sort of search for freedom externally. I know that kind of a few years back when I thought of a free spirit woman, I thought of just a woman with long hair who lived in like a combi van and kind of just didn't give a shit. But like as I lean into it more, it's very much that a free spirit woman, they're very sort of self-responsible as well. And they're not afraid to give awareness to sort of, I guess, the darker parts, because, you know, that they know that there's wisdom and growth on the other side. So someone who, I guess, welcomes all of themselves as well.
Oh, I love that. And just to elaborate a little bit more on that question, has there been a moment in your life, Sarah, where you felt like you were living that free spirit woman life? Or do you feel like you're still weaving through, you know, your own world and all through this?
Well, I think we're all constantly weaving, and it's really interesting because when I first found spirituality, I was like, oh, if I'm spiritual for a year, then I'll be good. Like, it's all done. I won't have to do any more work. So I feel that we've all got like a free spirit woman within, but unfortunately within today's society, we're searching for it externally. So I believe that we're all free spirit women, and within myself in particular, you know, as each day goes on more and more, I'm, I guess, coming home to myself, if that makes sense. So I wouldn't say like I'm there yet, and if I'm ever going to be there really, if that kind of makes sense. But yeah, I feel like every day is like a new opportunity. So if I don't sound like a tosser saying that.
No, not at all. I want you to speak your truth. That's what she's all about.
Yeah.
And I totally agree with everything you just said. We're always weaving through that stuff, and we realign, and then we go through this, and then we may, you know, there's highs and the lows. And actually, as I was saying that question, you know, do you feel that the lower points in your life have brought you to living more of a free spirit woman life?
100%. And this is the thing, is that everything's about polarity. So you can't feel the lightness unless you felt the darkness. So yeah, 100%. Like the whole, I guess, reason I consciously chose to live a different way is because I was just so sick of my own shit. Like I was just like, I can't do this anymore. And I think there's like that meme that goes around on social media that it's like something like, you know, it's you only really take action is when you get sick of your own bullshit. That's kind of where the growth comes in. But yeah, 100%.
So when you catch yourself on your own bullshit, this commonly comes up in the previous podcasts I've done. When you're catching yourself with your own bullshit, as you just said, or you may have rephrased it a little bit differently, so I apologise, I said that the wrong way. But how do you know that you're doing that? Like, how do you know that Sarah's doing that? And how do you pull yourself back?
That's clear. How do you realise that you're not living your truth?
Yeah, pretty much.
I think, this is really interesting because I'm going through a little bit of this now with certain aspects in my life. I think you have to be ready to also realise it. Like, you can know things logically and, you can know things logically, but it's not till your body is sort of ready to integrate it can you actually, I guess, action on it. So we have to kind of really, like, feel it and allow it to land within. So it's kind of, I think you've just got to be ready. Like, I can't really pinpoint an exact moment, but it's just universe is always, I guess, working behind the scenes really, and you've just got to have that awareness and get really honest with yourself. I think, I found this with myself in recent years is that the things that can be quite painful, it's actually the truth.
Totally.
And they do have a lot of pain in it when we get really honest with ourselves and the way things are going, because as society is today, there is like a fear mentality that we can hold on to, and we've got, like what it's called is a secondary gain. So by us living in a fear state and not living in our truth, we're actually getting something out of it, really. But whatever we're getting out of it, it's not actually serving us on a greater scale. So I think you've just got to be really honest with yourself. And sometimes, we're not ready to be honest with ourselves. And we can't be hard on ourselves because we're ready when we're ready.
Absolutely. And as you're saying that, when you're saying about the truth, and Free Spirit Woman's all about the truth, I just felt, for me personally, and I don't know if this resonates with you, Sarah, but when I wasn't living my truth, when I was running away from my own shit and not facing my stuff, I was running. I was running in the opposite direction.
Yeah. Well, what actually happened with me that's very interesting that you say that is the point that it would have been the end of 2014 where I was just like, because I was, drinking on the weekend, spending all my money, like just had no idea who I was or what the hell I was doing, seeking external validation everywhere. And it had got to the point when this had happened. So when I was ready to, realize that, hang on, this isn't working for me, because I was actually physically running away. So I grew up in Perth, and then my mother passed away in 2011, and I had a trip to Europe booked 6 weeks after that. And in hindsight, I probably shouldn't have gone, but at the time I was like, no, I want to go. I was 20 years old. And so I went to Europe. I came back. It was like, nah, don't want to be here. Went to work on the mine. So I was doing fly in, fly out. So I wasn't home. Then went to Europe, came back again, worked on the mines. And then I moved interstate to Melbourne. And it was when I'd gotten to Melbourne, I'd been there for probably about 6 months, and I had nowhere else to run. And I was like, oh, shit. And then I was forced to face it because there was nothing else to kind of run away from. I had nowhere to go, I guess. So it's really interesting. So I'm definitely a runner.
Don't you think a lot of people, Sarah, and I know we're elaborating a little bit more on this question, but I like to dig a little bit deep sometimes. But some people, they won't run. They'll stay in the shit, the crap. They'll literally stay in bad situations because it's that uncomfortable to move through it.
Yeah.
And I've been in that state too. I'll stay there. I don't know about you, but I've stayed in crappy situations, crappy relationships, friendships, business relationships, because it was comfortable and you didn't know anything else.
Do you know what? It's because, and to get out of them, you've really got to trust. And when we're in, I think, situations like that, we don't trust ourselves. And it's usually that our self-worth is quite low. So to actually get yourself out of those situations, you've got to trust that whatever you can't see in front of you, that there is something that is coming. But when you're in the thick of it, there's nothing worse. And it's just like you're just stuck. It's just like, what the hell do I do?
I know. So that sort of, helps the listeners to know that there is a lot of different parts of the Free Spirit Woman, and she will go, as you said, the alignment,
what a Free Spirit Woman is.
Yeah, just basically.
They're not afraid. They bring sort of awareness to all parts of themselves. It's not just the light and fairy dust and stuff.
That's what I was going to say.
It's all parts, because it's essentially the darkness in inverted commas, if that's what you want to call it. It's 50% a part of us. Exactly. So if you ignore that, you're going to become numb.
Yeah, it's not all the bloody friggin' sparkle and rainbows and unicorns, is it?
It's not. And once more, coming back to polarity, you can't have the light without the dark. It's just not possible.
100%. Totally true. All right, well, we'll move along to the next question, huh? Because I think you'll like this one, Sarah. I got a feeling you're going to like this one. So, all the questions do tend to rhyme together, but I just like, there can be always a different spin on things. So how do you live unapologetically in your own life, not giving a fuck?
How do I live unapologetically? I do like this question.
People think about your decisions, what people are telling you that you should be living your life, or what they feel is best for you in living your own life, if that makes sense. So pretty much you shouldn't have to apologise for the choices that you're making and the way you're going to choose to live your life.
Yeah, at the end of the day, no one knows anything. It's like, say, my life, we were talking about my life. Yeah. No one knows as much as what I do in regards to my life. So I think, and this is how I've kind of grown up, is just with society and external influences. Anything that I heard on the news or anything my friends told me, I had like no discernment whatsoever. And I just like sucked it all in like a vacuum cleaner and then just made like my own beliefs from other people's stuff. So it's like I had no beliefs of my own. So the most important thing is discernment. So discernment of what's right for you, not what is right for someone else. Like what's right for you and me isn't going to be the same thing at all. And I just think it's coming back to your body, because your body has its own wisdom, not the mind. And I think just letting go of expectations of yourself, which is easier said than done. But, you know, and also coming back to that trust, just trusting yourself and realizing that, especially as women, we have ebbs and flows. Like you think of the menstrual cycle, like it's not all just one kind of flat line. Like it's constantly going up and down. And just to, I think, honor that within, but just really coming back to yourself and what feels right for you. Like if you think of a scenario and just notice how your body reacts to it, and no one can tell you what to do or how to live your life, because at the end of the day, like you're the only one who knows.
And that's beautiful. Yeah, it's so true. I think it's a very big thing out there today in the world, especially in the 20s. If you're 20 now, live in your 20s, it's a big thing.
Millennials? I'm millennial. I'm like late 20s. Kids these days, I don't know.
So I've got 3 daughters, and I commonly hear the worry of these kids worrying about what other people's think. I'm not saying all my children are like that, but I've got one in particular, and she constantly worries about what other people think, and I just see it and hear it so much. And like all the people and the women that I'm working with through my doTERRA team, it is very common conversation, worrying about what people think. You know, am I enough?
Yeah.
It's just totally. And I love your answer to that, so thank you.
Oh, thank you.
So your daily spiritual practice, now I know that you're a feminine embodiment coach in training. So maybe if someone was interested in hearing that conversation with you, Sarah.
Yeah, so with the feminine embodiment certification, so I'm doing it through the School of Embodied Art with a woman called Jenna Ward, and it's blowing my mind. So it's a lot about, as I've touched on a little bit, like just the body's wisdom and how there's just, you know, bringing awareness to, I guess, emotions and feelings that we tend to avoid, and just sort of, I guess, the impact of what happens when we do avoid these emotions that are, I guess, a bit more painful to address, and how it can just store in our body. Like, you know, I think kind of in society today, it's a little bit, and I know that I used to do this as well, is that if I'm feeling bad, like if I'm not feeling that great, I'll just be like, oh, well, I want to feel good, so I'm just going to push that to the side and say a few affirmations. And it's like that feeling, it's still there. Like it's still going to be there.
There's no miracle pill.
So that's kind of, no. But then it's also, I don't know, there's just so much depth to this certification. Like with embodiment itself, it is so hard to articulate into words. But I guess for my spiritual practice each day, so I do some form of like embodied movement, and sometimes it's literally like 3 minutes. So, you know, and I think sometimes it's playing with my oracle card, sometimes it's journaling.
Beautiful.
Sometimes it's literally watching Netflix. Like that's my spiritual practice. So, yeah, it varies from day to day. I used to have like a very strict sort of, I guess, thing that I would stick to, and then when I wouldn't stick to it, I'd just berate myself. So I'm just like, you know, why am I even doing this? So I sort of wake up in the morning. One thing I do every morning without fail is I will connect to my womb space. So I put my hands on my womb and just sort of send myself some love, or just feel into, I guess, what's going on within, or something like that.
I love all that. And I've done a bit of work around the embodiment stuff, but I will be honest with you and the listeners that I struggled. Yeah, it
can be confronting as fuck.
Yeah, it was. And it was quite deep. And when I actually went bankrupt a few years ago, that was when I was doing the work. And so I don't know if that's got the emotional, like the external type emotion stuff. Then I had to dig deep within the body as to where it was at, where it had come from. So it was quite deep. So hats off to you for doing. Yeah, it's full on, that embodiment work.
And it was honestly, to do this certification, it was the easiest thing. It was the easiest decision I've ever made.
Right. Well, then you must be complete. Oh, I might have to get some coaching off you, I reckon, Sarah. Anyway, that's another conversation.
We'll do these.
Rightio. So this is one of my favourite questions, Sarah, that is, What is intuition to you?
Ooh, I like this. Personally, for me, and it's interesting because it seems to be the theme of this conversation, it's trusting yourself. Your intuition is trusting yourself. I think also not comparing your intuition to other people's intuition as well. Because some intuitive people, they're very visual, the clairvoyant. And I remember when I first kind of just was, I guess, dipping my toe into this realm, I was like, well, I'm not intuitive because I can't really see anything. I don't get big, massive visualizations, but I have is it the clairsentience, so that inner feeling and claircognizance.
Yes.
I think I've pronounced that wrong, like the inner knowing. So for me, it's like this internal knowing, and once more, it's like the body's wisdom, like just feeling it in my body. So, but circling that intuition, it's about trusting yourself.
It is. It really is. And just maybe a little bit more on that, I'm 100% the same, because I get people asking the same question. How do you know the sounds? How do you know that it's that talking and not your head talking?
Oh, yes. I love this.
I get this
I love this
all the time. I get this. Well,
yeah.
How do you know it's your head talking, Rechelle, over your intuition? You know when it's talking because it's like it wants to cut down every single wall, every single tree. Literally, it wants to make a stand. Because it's that strong. Then I have heard people say that it's soft. I get that too.
Yeah, I think it's different for everyone. For me, also, I find that if it's the mind, there's a story attached to it. It's very chattery and it will just kind of linger on and on. But with intuition, it's something that's from deep within. It's not like that mental, heady energy. And it's patient. And I find that also sometimes, kind of like what you touched on before, it can be quite subtle. And another thing to add with intuition as well, it's sometimes it's your intuition when it doesn't make any sense. If it doesn't make any sense, it's your intuition. And it doesn't necessarily mean that your intuition is going to be, I guess, the most spiritual thing. It could be something that you just weren't even expecting at all. You just don't know.
And don't you agree with this too as well? This is because I've commonly got asked this question myself, and that's why I like to ask, beautiful people like yourself, is for me, if you go into any doubt of that voice or that feeling or that thing that you've seen, it's not your intuition, because intuition, it doesn't doubt. So it's very clear on the information.
It's the mind that doubts.
Correct. So
yeah, the mind, the ego. Yeah,
that's what I've found anyway. That it's
100%. No, totally on the same field with you, my dear.
Thank you for that. That was beautiful. Okay, moving along. So, how do you turn, Sarah, your self-belief into your greatest power? Those fears, those doubts, those I'm not enough.
How do I turn my self-doubt into my greatest superpower?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. But when I saw this question, the first thing that I thought of, and it might be a little bit cheesy, but it's feel the fear and do it anyway. So, we see these big figures like Oprah and, all of these, amazing women in the world. And it's not that they're fearless at all. It's just that they are able to, I guess, deal with their fear, acknowledge it and realize that it's not real a lot quicker, if that makes sense. So I think with self-doubt, just acknowledging that it's just something that happens. And one thing that I know has been my biggest challenge, I guess, is resistance. Just having resistance to just self-doubt or anything like that. But if you just welcome it in and kind of see what's happening there, that's how it can become your greatest superpower.
I love that. And that is so true. And it, like you said, it might sound a bit cliche, but at the end of the day, like you said, Oprah Winfrey, all these big people, they've all got fear every day. It's just different fears to ours, and it's obvious that they've stepped through that shit to get to the other side of it, and that's why they've done what they've done. And everyone's got different fears for different things and different reasons. And, I love that answer. Thank you so much. So this is a good one, and this can be from a personal perspective or it could be from a business or your career or whatever you want to call it. So what has been your biggest turning point in your life where you were, and it may not have even happened yet that you can even identify, but you might be able to share something with the listeners, but living a free spirit woman life, as you said, you gave your answer, but then what was the turning point where you're here and then you knew you were there and you got to there?
You're going to love this answer. It was during our circle training that we recently did together with the gorgeous Sora. So for those listening, Rechelle and I I only met like 6 weeks ago. That's crazy. I feel like I've known you my whole life.
I know.
We were at a circle training with the gorgeous Sora, and it was just, oh my God, like it was just the most magical week of my life. And in this training, what the biggest takeaway for me is that it was safe to be in my power, and that I do have like power that's waiting for me to access. We all do. We all have the same amount of power. And it just, I was ready. Like going back to, being ready, I just felt ready, and I just felt so safe, and I felt so seen for, I guess, who I really was. And you and I have had this conversation a couple of times about being too much, because we're both kind of got, I guess, big personalities, if you will. And I've spent a bit of my life kind of discerning, am I being too much, or am I acting, this particular way sort of because I'm insecure, or sort of what's that about? And just that week, I just felt so safe to be myself. Like it was really, really special. So things have unfolded very quickly since then. So definitely that experience in circle, for sure.
And what do you feel in that circle, Sarah, was, so if someone said, okay, well, I can't get the circle training, or I can't do circle training, what actually did happen in that week where you knew that was a turning point in your life? So this is just the everyday girl. She's listening to this podcast. She's doing the walk. She's got kids, or she's not got kids, and she can't do, or she's not interested in circle training. What actually happened for you in this moment that if you could not go back to circle training, but you could actually go through what you went through in that 5 days in your everyday life? What could we?
For me, I think the key thing that stands out is safety. So I think a lot of us, we go through life, the fight or flight response. We're just constantly in that fight response where we shouldn't be. Like the fight response is there in our body, say if like, I don't know, like a tiger's about to attack us or something like that, not just everyday living, which is what is happening at the moment. Like everyday living, we're just in that red zone and we're just ready for, like, I guess, to attack. So I think safety was the biggest thing, like feeling safe, but also something that was really powerful as well is that just voicing for what we needed. So not kind of just expecting people to read our minds and I guess just assume for what we need, but like actually voicing what we needed. So if we needed something, or we needed help with something, or we didn't want to talk about something, or we didn't do anything, we all voiced it. And that space was created. And I think what else is powerful is that as women coming together, there was no fluff at all. Like, no, like, oh, hey, how you going? And talking about kind of surface stuff, which there's nothing wrong with that at all. But it was just like straight to like the soul of things. And that's what we were all there for. Like it wasn't, it wasn't draining or anything like that. So I think maybe for the everyday listener is to just perhaps once more, just get honest with what you need. And then if that's a girlfriend or a partner, like voice that. Because I think when you're seen for who you really are, like there's nothing more beautiful or more powerful with that. But you've got to use your voice at the end of the day.
Ooh, yes, I love that, Sarah. I put you on the spot with that question, but that was a good... Yeah, I really love that. Thank you. And I reckon everyone's going to be like, oh my God, yes, just use your voice. That is so true. That really touched me just saying I love that.
And also don't wait to use your voice. Even if you're scared or you're full of fear, just use it. So don't wait for when the time is ready, because you're never going to be ready. Like if there's a scenario or a certain situation, just do it. Obviously being respectful if there's another party involved always, but just if you do have fear, go with it anyway, because the more and more you do it, the quieter that fear is going to get.
Oh my God, that was amazing. That was really good. And I didn't do one of the questions because I think you covered it, because you're very high detail in all your answers, and I just really appreciate everything you've shared with the Free Spirit Radio. So now we're going to do like a little 5 minutes sort of, a little bit probably less than that, a little bit about you, Sarah.
Amazing.
And then obviously that would lead people in if they've loved you and loved like I do and they've connected with you like I have. I think this just helps them to get to know you that little bit more. So what don't we know about you, Sarah? And try and answer this in a sort of as simple as possible, like little answers to these questions.
What don't people know about me?
Yeah, what don't people know?
I am obsessed with trashy UK reality TV.
Oh.
Obsessed, and I don't even care. I love it so much.
Oh, I love that. Sorry, I'm just okay, thank you. Your favourite essential oil?
Jasmine. I'm wearing it right now. I smell very sexual.
Very sensual. And, of course, you're an embodiment coach, darling.
Oh, not yet. I will be, but
yes.
Yet.
Well, you're in training, as you said in your bio. Your favourite book right now?
Do you know what is so funny? This isn't going to be a quick one, sorry, but
that's all right.
I thought that I was like big, massive like book connoisseur and I knew all these books, and I was like, fuck, I actually haven't read that many at all, like really in hindsight. But I'd say that probably, I guess my favourite book, because it was the first book that I picked up and I was like, holy hell, was Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life.
Oh yeah, of course. That was my first ever read book. No, that was
I think it was everyone's. Like, there's something about that book. It was mine as well.
I know, that was an amazing book, totally. What's your favourite podcast, Sarah? Have you got a favourite one?
Well, besides yours, I have two, Connie Chapman, Awaken Radio, and Sahara Rose, The Higher Self podcast.
Oh, I've got to write that one down right after The Higher Self podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And who inspires you right now? Who's your mentor right now?
I love this question. The first person that came to mind was actually my dad. So my dad, there's a big generational gap with us too. He is 83 this year. And recently I've just had this like newfound appreciation of him. Like, we're complete opposite, but he is just someone, he knows who he is. And, you know, as women, how if we're dealing with a scenario with someone else, we get all like into the emotions and, you know, as empaths as well, we take on other people's stuff. He's just like, nah. Like, he's not fazed about what anyone else is doing. He just totally just does what's right for him. And, like, no one else really affects him. And I'm just like, holy shit, man. Like, I have so much to learn from him. And, yeah, it's really amazing.
He needs to be on the podcast. What do you reckon?
You'll love him.
Oh, that was a crack up. No, I'm dead serious. I'm actually thinking there needs to be a free spirit man. What do you reckon? I'm actually, no, well, yeah, it's a unisex. Yeah, I've got a guy in mind, a coach. I don't know about Jason yet, but we might do that. He would be amazing actually because he's really good.
Yeah.
I need to look at the questions, but I've got a guy coach. I won't mention his name right now, but yeah, he's someone I really want to interview. I'll say that to you when we switch it off the recording. That's all right, but we're allowed to say this, right? Okay, Sarah, that was amazing, seriously. Like, thank you so much.
Just quickly before we wrap up, I just wanted to say, like, thank you for all the incredible work that you're doing in the world as well. You inspire me a lot too. And I love everything you're doing. I love this podcast, and it's such an honour to be on it.
I really appreciate you saying that because I had to really step into my power to do this because I love having conversations like this. Yeah.
Oh, God, I could talk for hours about this. We'll be here till midnight.
Well, there's a Free Spirit TV coming from my YouTube channel, so I reckon you are going to be amazing and we'll get the groove on here, I reckon. What do you reckon?
Yeah.
Yes. All right, so Sarah, how can people find you? What are they got to do and how can they connect with you and share a little bit about how they can find you online or whatever it is?
So online, they can find me on Instagram and Facebook at sarahwilliams.co. My website is www.sarah-williams.co. And I'm also hosting a retreat called the Goddess Getaway this June, just south of Sydney. I've got a few spots left on that. Yeah, so all the details are on my website.
Great. And are you on Instagram and Facebook, Sarah?
Yeah, sarahwilliams.co.
Rightio, beautiful. And so she's got this goddess retreat coming up. June, you said, Sarah?
Yeah, June.
Great.
It's a 3-night one.
Wow, that sounds amazing.
It's going to be amazing.
That's going to be amazing. And what about, when's your, just so people can know, this embodiment coaching possibility packages, will they be towards next year or when are you feeling into that for people?
Towards the end of this year, but then in saying that as well, I won't know until I finish the certification because I want to allow everything to integrate properly. I think one of my things is getting into business for yourself. You feel that you have to be doing everything and you have to be doing it right now. And there's like, it's this race and you have to get everything done. So once I graduate, I'll feel into that a little bit more, but probably towards the end of this year.
But if you go and follow Sarah over on her Instagram and her Facebook accounts.
Yes.
And maybe sign up to your mailing list too, Sarah, as well.
Yes. Yes, and you'll get the links for that on my website.
There we go. And then she will keep you in the knowing as to what she's doing and where she's at. But if you love Sarah like I do, guys, get on over at Instagram and Facebook and follow this girl because she is amazing. And I love Sarah, and that's why I've got her on this podcast. Yeah, so thank you so much, Sarah.
Thank you, Nadia. What a pleasure.
I really appreciate you and your time, and your answers were just truly incredible for this brand and what I'm out there doing in the world.
Amazing. Thank you, gorgeous woman.
Thank you. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Free Spirit Woman podcast. As always, if you love what you heard, please head on over to iTunes and leave me a review. In between episodes, you can connect with me online at freespiritwoman.com.au. See you next time.